Hi there, and welcome to this course on mastering .NET and C# unit testing with NUnit and Moq. Now, before we talk about the course itself, I want to talk a bit about myself and what I do and what this course is all about. So my name is Dimitri. Here's a picture of me. I work in an area called Quant Finance, which is a combination of math, finance, and computing, including some cool applications of high-performance computing. I am a frequent conference speaker, a blogger, a .NET user group leader, and very involved in the developer community in addition to the Quant community. I've been a Microsoft MVP since the year 2009, and I'm still an MVP, still doing lots of stuff in this area. And just in case you forgot, this is a course on mastering unit testing with NUnit and Moq. So what is this all about? Why do we care about unit testing? Well, you probably know that you need to control the quality of your code. You write some code, but can you actually prove that it does what it says it does? And that's what tests are actually for. But there is an additional part to this story that's also worth mentioning, and that is how resistant your code is to changes. And what happens when somebody performs a refactoring, for example. Does your code continue to function as before? Or does a refactoring break something? If you don't have any tests, you cannot really answer any of these two questions. You cannot prove that your code does what it does, and you cannot show that after a change, the code hasn't been broken somehow. And that is why we have this doctrine of test-driven development, something that became very popular a few decades ago and is still part of the mainstream. It's part of the ordinary development lifecycle. So test-driven development in one form or another is something that all professional developers do, and this course kind of gives you the in-depth information as to how this is done on the .NET framework. Now, in terms of the organization of the course, it's 100% practical, and I'm going to be demonstrating it by typing code in Visual Studio and running tests and so on. Now, each of the sections of the course has a self-contained C# file attached to it that you can download, and that contains all the tests that I demonstrate. But in addition to using Visual Studio, and you're welcome to use something else if you want, I'm also going to be using quite a few external tools and packages. So in terms of the external tools that I'm going to be using ReSharper as the unit test runner, and I'm also going to be using .cover to demonstrate the concepts of code coverage as well as continuous testing. And then we're going to be using some NuGet packages as well. So we're obviously going to be using Moq, that's the mocking framework of choice for this course. And in addition, I'll be using dotMemoryUnit to show you memory-related unit testing. The tools which are marked with an asterisk are unfortunately not free, but you can download trial versions. And the trial typically for ReSharper Ultimate lasts for a month, which is enough for you to follow this course and as well as to figure out whether this is the kind of tool you want to be using. Now, the prerequisites for this course are fairly obvious. You should have a good understanding of C#. Nothing critical here, no advanced knowledge is required. All of the C# that we're going to do is fairly simple and understandable. In addition, since I'll be using Visual Studio, some familiarity with Visual Studio is beneficial, but it's not critical, and you're welcome to use a different tool. So if you want to use Writer, for example, then go ahead and use that, or you can use a standalone test runner instead. So with all that said, if you're ready to join me on this course, then let's jump in, and I'll see you on the other side.